So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this Go Live series around artificial intelligence. I'm Sébastien Guibert, heading the French AI Center of Excellence for Capgemini France. There will be 5 different sessions already planned in the next weeks. So the first one is today around fraud. The second one will be the 12th of May around strategic approach for applied AI. After that, we'll move to the supply chain topic on May the 19th. Then sustainability the week after. And finally, we'll move to the MLOps methodology to scale AI on June the 2nd. So if you want, there will be also additional session in June or July, depending on the people who are interested in. So feel free to tell us if it's really interesting for you or not. So let's come back for the first session today. I'm very pleased to introduce Yannick Martel and François Depimaudan to give you some advice regarding frauds, threats. So guys, the floor is yours. Just one additional things. If you need to ask some question, please use the Q&A part of the WebEx tool. So we'll answer the question at the end of the session. Yannick, François, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much. Short introduction. I'm François Depimaudan, working at Bleckwen, and we are specialized on fraud prevention based on artificial intelligence, and we provide some return on experience on that topic. Yannick?
Hello, everybody. I'm Yannick Martel. I'm working for Capgemini Global AI team and specialize in fraud and security topics. So now, about the topic of today, what are we talking about exactly? So fraud is when somebody wants to secure some gain or to prevent somebody else from gain intentionally. And they do that with illegal means. And the fraud can affect everybody, an organization, a corporation, a state, or an individual. And of course, there is fraud from individuals, but a lot of the big fraud and the fraud that is casting a lot of organizations is coming from organized groups, organized crime, and terrorist groups. And some of the characteristics of fraud is that fraud is very adaptable to change, and fraud is really prospering today with borderless and fluid economy and with the virtual and online economy. And of course, we want to avoid fraud and to detect it. But trouble is that a fraudulent activity, at first glance, look like just any other activity. It's the proverbial needle in a haystack. It's rare. It's actively hiding. So it's more of a needle of hay in a haystack, and trying to look like any other piece of hay. It's also very innovative, trying new things and finding new opportunities. And what's important as well is that it's reactive. For instance, in the States, till recently, most of the payments at a point of sale were done with your credit card using the magnetic stripe. Of course, the magnetic stripe is quite easy to reproduce, and there were a lot of fraud at the point of sale based on that, which we don't have anymore in Europe because we're using the smart chip. And now in the US, I've started to implement smart chips, and of course, fraud has been reduced. But indeed, the fraud that has been reduced is fraud at the point of sale, and now they're seeing an increase of fraud online, like we have in Europe. So overall, fraud is not really decreasing much. It has just moved, so it has adapted to the new conditions. And it's creatively varied. Well, let's say it's varied in the sense that the opportunities for fraud are many across all segments and industry, against the government, against banks, financial institutions, insurance companies, game companies, telecom operators, whatever there is money and there is gain to have, there is fraud. And even in some cases, not really money, which is intermediate, like in gaming, where you're trading points, or in the transportation industry, where we see fraud on the fidelity points. So whenever there's some gain or some equivalent monetary activity, there can be fraud. And proof that fraudsters can adapt quite easily is that, of course, with the COVID-19 situation, we've seen that a lot of governments have starting providing support schemes in various forms, and fraudsters have already started to use that and to gain money from the government. Especially on public services, we find fraud everywhere, whether it is tax fraud, tax evasion, custom fraud, healthcare fraud, welfare, and in this we can just say a word is that fraud can be either very large organized fraud with a group of people working in sync, or small fraud like just people trying to get more advantage, but in general it's all fraud, and it's costing to the society as a whole. And indeed, fraud as a whole, of course, not just the small individual fraud, but the aggregation of it, and especially organized crime fraud, is costing a lot. Fraud is costing trillions per year to the society. So that's typically the revenue of, the total value produced by a mid-sized country. And that's really what fraud would be if it would be a country. It's costing to individuals. Of course, maybe some of you have got some credit card scheme and have been abused on their credit card. We find that there can be also much larger abuses, like people buying home and making a payment to the real estate agent, but indeed the email they got was not from the real estate agent. It was from a fraudster, and the money is sent. And when you have a fast payment scheme, the money is sent and it has moved, and it cannot be recovered. For corporations, the cost is in money, of course, but it can be much worse. If we find that large company can lose millions, smaller ones can also use a large amount of money, and in some case, this leads to the closure of the company. Like with this small French company, which was profitable, which was operating well, which had customers, and due to having used up all this cash and bank overdraft with a manipulation of the finance manager, the company was forced to close down. And governments, of course, are losing money to fraud, like VAT fraud, which is estimated to be 50 billion euros per year. Of course, estimated because we don't know exactly. And also, as I mentioned, in the COVID-19 relief funds, fraudsters have already started using that. We've all seen some frauds on the masks, on the protection equipment. There has been some, and there has been some on the relief funds directly. So what can we do against fraud? Because that's a universal problem. And fraud is difficult, as we said, and artificial intelligence allows us to fight on an even ground. And we've got some proof of that, like for the French government, which last year had an initiative of using artificial intelligence against tax evasion, and they recovered double the whole amount of the year before. So a large amount of money got from using artificial intelligence. And we have other examples. like another European government which was fighting VAT carousel. VAT carousel is a scheme where companies, when they are buying equipment, they are paying the VAT, and but then they can recover it from the government. The VAT carousel is when you set up a string or a network of fictive companies which are selling fictive goods, and they're having VAT, and some of them are collecting VAT back from the government, but indeed they are never paying it to the government at the end. And this costs a lot in Europe, where VAT rules are special, and some European governments are fighting with a return of investment over 20 times. We've seen examples of PayPal and also credit card issuers reducing both the customer friction with the decline of transactions and the losses due to fraud. Because as always, there's a balance to be had between having some friction because you're trying to control, you're trying to stop things, and reducing this friction on one hand, and having protecting against fraud on the other hand. Why and how artificial intelligence is doing better than rules? And typically, rules are really the state of the art in fraud detection in many places, and only some companies and some organizations are putting systems based on artificial intelligence. But the trouble is that rules are generating large amounts of false positives and are generating bad user friction because in many cases they are generating too much alerts, blocking too much transactions. While with AI, you can be more precise in separating fraud from non-fraud. Thus you generate less friction for the user and less back office work. So with rules, you tend to create a new set of rules for each new situation or new attack vector. And at the end, you get hundreds or thousands of rules. And it's very difficult then to maintain and to debug them efficiently. With a modern AI system, you're training them on data, they pick up the new patterns, and they are testable, explainable, and interpretable, and you can understand how they're working. And then rules, if you want to adapt your fraud prevention to new patterns or new attack vectors, you need an expertise to adjust to those threats and to create the rules. And we are seeing that we can have companies who have the same exact system, but different teams for defining the rules, and they have much different performance in the system at the end of the day. With AI, an AI algorithm can detect unknown unknowns, pick up new patterns, and it can be retrained regularly to integrate those new patterns, thus reducing much the manual work that is to be done. And of course, with modern artificial intelligence, you need data, and you need a lot of data usually. Of course, the first type of data you're going to use are events or transactions or cases. They are to be the elements you're going to score. You're using also digital logs and behavior in case you are online, because there is a lot of information in the way, let's say, you're putting a request on the government website, or you're doing a transaction on the web banking, or you're making a payment on an e-commerce site. So this information, we can use it as well. We're using customer citizen reference data as well. We can use external sources of shared data, like data shared within an industry with the attack vector, so much like the threat intelligence and cybersecurity. Also demographic data, and also we can use geographical information, something that's very common, for instance, for credit card. When if you detect a point of sale transaction in New York and less than an hour after that we get one in Paris, well, that's something, especially in these days, but even in normal times, there is something. And of course, we use historical data. because typically what we do is we don't use artificial intelligence alone. We use artificial intelligence with behavior analysis, and you want to use the history for that. And now, François.
Yes, thank you, Yannick. So before going and saying the same that Yannick has already told, which is artificial intelligence and specifically machine learning is performing very well, I just want to say that rules are not dead. You will still need rules, and rules are still performing well to detect fraud. As an example, if you take, once you have detected a fraudulent account, you don't need to retrain a model to learn again and again that this account is fraudulent. You can just put it in a blacklist, and that's forever. So rules are not fully dead. Then you can see on the figures below, which are based on analysis of 400 million transactions and looking for phishing and malware fraud for corporate customers, that machine learning is performing better. It's increasing the value and the amount of fraud that is avoided as compared to rules, and it's also increasing the number of fraudulent transactions that are stopped from 62% in volume with machine learning, where it was 42% with expert rules. However, if you take a combination of both, then you really have the optimized system where you can stop 74% of the number of transactions that are fraudulent, and 82% of the fraud is avoided. So it's really a combination of both. And one other advantage of the yes, Yannick, one other advantage of the machine learning is that you can really have a risk-based approach, because the machine learning, it won't give you a yes or no, it's fraud. It will give you a score between 0 and 1 or 0 and 100. And then you need to choose the threshold where you want to generate an alert and stop what you suspect to be a fraudulent transaction. And as it's based on statistical approach, then you know for each threshold what will be the number of alerts, which is the blue line here, and what will be the level of fraud exposure that still remain, which is a red line here. So basically here you can see that by fixing a specific threshold, you will generate 350 alerts every month, while still stopping 98% of the fraud, which was on a different study than the one before. So what is interesting here is that you can move your threshold every day based on your back office capacity, or based on the attacks that you're seeing, or your capacity or your risk appetence. So that's really important for the institution. Then what we found also interesting in our experience is that everything is in the data. I'm just showing you here credit application fraud study case. Credit application fraud is known to be identity theft, fake declaration, fake ID document. So most of the review are looking at documents and looking at if documents are real or fake documents. What we found is that machine learning is still able, without looking at the document itself, just at looking at the data of the structured file, to find and to prevent the fraud. Because even if there is a fake declaration, a fake document, you will find an anomaly in the application, and machine learning is able to detect it. So it's very interesting, because the technology to find fake document or identity theft are more costly than machine learning. So that's interesting. And moreover, what is interesting with machine learning is that it will rank the alert. Basically, as I said previously, it will give you a score from 0 to 100, 100 is more likely to be a fraud, 0 is the less risky. And so basically, if you have a application that is with a score of 98, you are almost sure that it's a fraudster. So whether you can ignore it directly, or you can say, I will analyze it later because I don't care to have a fraudster that is waiting for the application. And if I have a score which is 60, where I'm not really sure, but I still want to analyze, I want to analyze this one first, because if it's a good customer, I still want to provide him my product because I want to acquire my customer. So that's also one interesting usage of artificial intelligence for fraud detection. Now, if we look at the key factor of success for your project, machine learning is a very, very small part, and that's for everything. Every single project with machine learning will be the same, but it's still valuable to tell it for your fraud prevention project. You will spend a lot of time in data preparation, much more than in machine learning model. You will need to find the right variable, which is a feature extraction, and that is the business knowledge of your fraud. And you also need to pay a lot of attention to your serving infrastructure. Because if you want to do instant payment, as an example, an instant payment fraud with real-time scoring of each payment, you need to have the adequate infrastructure. That's a key success to have a performance solution. Now, if you have a performance solution, but nobody wants to use it, it's useless. So you still have to pay attention to another key topic, which is the explainability. Machine learning and artificial intelligence have been known to be black box systems. There are a lot of works and the technology is moving very fast to provide explainability of the decision. You need to pay attention to provide a graphical visualization or something that is usable by every user of your solution to understand the decision. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to have your team adopting the solution. So I really encourage you to pay attention to those different steps. First thing is everything in the data. So take care to spend time having the right data and finding the right variables, and that's with the business team that knows fraud to make sure that your solution is performant. And it will be a combination of models and rules to have a performance system that is allowing you to prevent the fraud. But if you want your teams to adopt it, then you need to put explainable and to have graphical user interface that allow each of your end user to really understand the decision. Yannick, I give you the conclusion.
Yes, so typically what we try to do now is to better identify fraudulent activities. In the future, we want to move more to predicting and to anticipating those fraudulent activities. And for that, we need first to leverage the data platform. Organizations and companies are setting up data platforms, and we want to use that better for the detection. We want to implement real-time identification and verification and blockage of fraudulent activities. And then we want to have a transparent decision-making process so that the system is fully transparent to the people who are managing it and who are deciding to set it up. And now we can take maybe a few questions. Do we have some questions on the Q&A?
No, I was trying to send some questions during your presentation, but I think it's not active. So can the organizer open the question, please, on the Q&A session?
I just received any question by mail because effectively the Q&A is not open yet. The question is, what could be an acceptable return of investment for fraud project that's dealing with AI? We have something that can help
The standard, I will answer, Yannick, but you may complete, of course. What we've seen is that the expected return on investment is €5 for €1 invested. If I spend €1 in my project, then I expect to save €5, whether on fraud avoided or on operational efficiency.
And this ratio of 5, Francois, can be reached since the beginning of the project, or is it a target that we can expect after maybe 6 months or more?
It's more after. So basically, an implementation project, it will be 3 to 6 months to deploy the solution, depending on your IT constraint, of course. So it will start really preventing fraud after 3 to 6 months. And so after 6 months live, then you will really get your return on investment.
Okay, thanks.
If you have any question, please use the chat instead of the Q&A. We have still trouble with the Q&A, so please ask your question directly on the chat.
So, of course, in addition to the presentation, and thank you so much, François and Yannick, for the presentation, you can reach directly the teams if you need to have additional details. We have also some Capgemini Research Institute report talking about the different topics. So feel free to connect if you need additional information. And if you get some additional question, you can use the chat.
We have one on the chat, Yannick, about scalability. I will let your IT skills and architecture skills answer. We have the question which is about scalability of such kind of solution.
Yes, well, in general, of course, scalability can be a problem if you have very large amount of data. In general, in fraud prevention, you have more valuable data, so it depends, and it's a lot about it's a matter of having the right deployment, the right infrastructure, and planning it for your objectives. For instance, in some cases, you want real time, and that means you're going to optimize for latency, and so you're trying to get something not too complex with not long paths. In some other cases, you want to optimize for volume and for cost efficiency for volume, and then you're trying to process in bulk. So it really depends. Like in fraud, we have different cases and different business cases, and the scalability requirements also depend on the cases. Typically, the Bleckwen solution has been designed for doing high volume, like what you have at a major bank for payments, and with very low latency. And very low means in the area of tens of milliseconds. For some use case, it's okay. For some use case, it's much too low. For some others, it's not. And really depends.
One additional question from Lily.
Yeah, for crisis situation, yes, in some cases we can, especially if we can do like, like for medicines, that trying to rebase all existing medicines to new situation and to a new virus. We can do more or less the same. We can take what we have as a fraud prevention system, which we know do work, and rebase them to new situations. And software is somewhat adaptable. So of course we can get something in a few weeks, let's say less than a month. You won't get the optimal idea system, but you still get some form of protection. You'll get the 80% of protection, and then you can work on improving. And anyway, any fraud system is something you're setting up, and then you're seeing a reaction with the life, and you're improving. So yeah, we can do a setup in reaction to a crisis situation.
And Yannick, maybe we can add also that AI can help to understand more quicker a new attack, a new form of attack, and to detect it quicker So artificial intelligence can also be used as a reaction to crisis to understand in a more quicker way what is going on.
Any more question?
I think it's okay from the question and the answer. Thank you everyone for this third session. I think we all enjoy this meeting. Maybe Sébastien, you have the last word for this meeting.
No, that's okay. Thank you once again, François and Yannick, and see you next week for the next session regarding strategic approach within AI. So thank you for joining, and have a good day and stay safe.
Thank you everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much, all.